On today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you my selection of baking equipment. There's no hiding from it. You need basic equipment to start your baking journey. So if you are a cake making beginner, a home baker who's starting out on your baking journey, you need to have some basic tools that will help you make great cakes. These tools don't necessarily have to be expensive, and you don't have to spend a lot. I will be giving you tips on where you can save money by buying basic tools, and there are certain tools where paying a little bit more money and getting the best quality that you can afford will pay off. So I hope that this will be very useful, so you will know what equipment to buy. And if you already have some baking tools, you can find out tools that you're missing that can make your baking journey even easier. You need mixing bowls. I would say that you need a selection of mixing bowls. Now, you don't necessarily need to go and buy really expensive mixing bowls. On the other hand, don't buy mixing bowls that are particularly cheap. Buy mixing bowls that are designed for baking. The reason is that if I show you in my mixing bowl, can you see that it's got a rubber edge on the bottom? So that makes it stable, so that when you're mixing, it doesn't slide around. And I would say get different sizes, and you need at least 3 or even more, because you will do a lot of mixing. So I have 4 different types. So this one's a larger one, and you can see a smaller one. And again, you can see that it has a steady bottom, so that when I'm mixing, it's not moving around. So if you're buying cheaper bowls, or bowls that are not designed for mixing, you might have that trouble. If that's what you've got, what you can do is put a napkin on your work surface and put that, and that will stop it from sliding. But from my experience, it still slides a lot. So get mixing bowls that are designed for baking, and they're not very expensive. So this is a smaller size of the same, and I like these set because they nest and they're easy to store. And again, this is another bowl designed for mixing, and it's got that rubber bottom end. So you need equipment for measuring. Measuring is a key part of baking, and you want equipment that will give you accurate measurement. You need a weighing scale. So this is mine. This is one equipment that I would say buy the best quality that you can afford. Previously I had a cheap scale, and it broke down quite quickly, and I had to buy a new one. So I have one that has different measurements. Also, when you buy a scale, buy one that can weigh up in different measurements, so in grams, in mils, in pounds and ounces. That's quite useful. You also need some measuring cups. These are used for dry and wet ingredients. So they come in different sizes, from half a cup up to a cup size. There are some recipes that will call for measuring in cups. For smaller quantities, you need measuring teaspoons. You absolutely need to have this. You could probably get away with not having these, so I don't often use this because I tend to prefer to weigh my ingredients in grams rather than in cups. But this is very important to have. Again, you don't need an expensive set. This one I bought from a pound store, and I've had it for many years. They come in different sizes, so get one that has a variety of sizes. So mine goes from 1/8 of a teaspoon up to 1 tablespoon, and you'll use this for measuring ingredients like your baking powder, bicarbonate of soda, also for measuring flavouring, so things like vanilla extract. These are coming very handy, so I use this every single time I bake. So these are your measuring spoons. Also for measuring, you need bigger measuring. So for measuring things like liquid, if you're using coffee, oil, I have my bigger measuring jars. And they come in different sizes. So this one comes in cups and pints, and another one in milliliters. So they're quite useful to have either different cups that have different measuring units, or if possible one that has all three will be quite useful, because different recipes will quote you your liquid in different units of measurement, so that's useful to have. Another tool that is useful to have is your sieve. So I have two different types. I have this smaller one, and I have a much bigger sieve. So you want a sieve, and you can see that I've used this for baking just this afternoon. So you want a sieve that has a fine mesh for sieving your ingredients. So things that I sieve, sometimes I sieve my flour, particularly when I'm making cake flour. So that's a crucial part of making cake flour. If you want to know how to make cake flour, check out my video on how to make cake flour at home. I also use it for sieving like my cocoa powder, so it's good to have a sieve available. And for this one, you just need a box standard sieve, so you don't have to buy an expensive one. You'll need things for mixing by hand. So a whisk, and this is my regular kitchen whisk. So it's the same whisk that I use to make pancakes and anything in my kitchen that needs whisking. So you don't have to buy a special whisk, but this is good to have for mixing dry ingredients, whisking up things. Sometimes I prefer to use this rather than using a mixer. So this, you just need a good quality whisk, kitchen whisk. You also need spatulas. These are also used for mixing and for scraping down your bowl when you're mixing your batter for mixing buttercream. I have two different sizes. This one I tend to use, for example, when I'm colouring my buttercream and mixing it together. So these are not very expensive. So get two different sizes because they come in handy. You need a palette knife. So this is a long palette knife, and this I use to take my cake out of the cake pan, and using my technique, my cakes come out absolutely perfect. So if you want to learn how to take out your cake from the cake pan in one piece, you really have to watch my video. It is probably one of my most popular videos. So simple, and it will show you how to take your cakes out of the pan in one piece. So this is a straight palette knife, and is not expensive, and I would recommend that you have this in your baking armory. Last but certainly not least, if you can afford it, get a mixer. It makes life so much easier. Yes, you can hand mix and hand whisk, but there are certain things where having a mixer makes life so much easier. If you haven't got that much money, you can buy a simple hand mixer, electrical mixer, not so expensive, and it will really help. So I'll show you mine, and you can see it's really old and battered, but it's so special to me. I bought this when I first started baking, which is like, how many years now? It's almost about 20 years. Yeah, pretty much about 20 years ago, I bought this mixer, and it still works. And it came with just that, so just the whisk attachment, and it did not cost me a lot, because I remember I wasn't working then, so at the time it felt like a lot of money, but this has seen me through lots of trying times. If you watch my videos, you'll see my red KitchenAid stand mixer, which I absolutely love. They are expensive, and not everyone can afford to get one. It does make life so much easier for things like my buttercream, creaming my sugar mixture, meringues and all that kind of thing. So If you can, get a stand mixer, but if you can't, then just a hand mixer will be good. So there we have it. Those are all my tools that I use for baking. Of course, there are lots and lots of other tools. For example, you need your baking tins, and I have a video that I looked through my selection of baking tins. So if you want to find out more about which baking tins the best, which ones you should buy, then have a look at that video. It'll be in the description box, and it's also shown at the top of your screen. So these are the tools that you need for baking. I will also be creating a video on the tools that I have used for cake decorating. I already have one where I talk about the essential tools for buttercream decorating, so you can have a look at that, and I will try and also create one showing you a selection of all my other baking tools. So that's it for today. I am sure that you found this very useful. Thank you for watching my videos, and if you still haven't subscribed, what else can I do to convince you to subscribe? Honestly, with me, you'll be baking cakes that taste absolutely amazing. So please subscribe and turn on the notification button. If you have any questions, drop me a note in the comment section, or you can find me across my social media platforms. I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Just search for Drmummycakes and you will find me there. So that's it for today. It's a wrap, people. I will see you next Wednesday. Thank you and happy baking. Goodbye.